Today we're going to meet a colossal monster that lives submerged in the depths of the oceans. It is known by the name Kraken, and when spoken aboard, it causes panic and euphoria among the entire crew.
Oh no, not the Kraken!
It is a kind of octopus that threatens the lives of sailors. This monster is the size of an island and has 100 tentacles at its disposal. It destroys any kind of vessel from small boats
to ships,
to large ships. The Kraken easily wraps around vessels and slowly squeezes them, causing serious damage to the structure and making them sink. The letter from the pirate Wetbeard was found inside a bottle, stranded on an island in the Pacific. In it, there are impressive accounts of the encounter with this colossal creature.
The sea became rough even without the winds changing direction. The danger hadn't come from heavy clouds, but from the depths of the sea. Giant tentacles appeared on the horizon and then lifted our boat. It felt like we were floating in the air. The creature let go and there was a huge impact. The whirlpool that formed after it quickly dove into the sea was terrifying, and before perishing, I send this message to be read.
There are also other cultures saying that the god Poseidon created the Kraken and named it as the representative of the sea. However, years later, after some disagreements, Poseidon took away the title and rejected it, being cast into the depths of the ocean by its own creator. Since then, from small boats to giant ships, whether uninformed or even informed, that sail around its location are fiercely annihilated by the ruthless Kraken. That's it, folks. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hello my friends, today we're going to talk about a creepy creature that was first seen in 2007. It all started with the appearance of a video on YouTube. It showed some crazy guys hunting ghosts in a place that looked like an abandoned factory, until at a certain moment while searching the area, they open a compartment and see a creature that looks like a humanoid pig. You can hear the sound of
I have
a pig's body. People start running and flee the place. After this video, reports began to emerge of people saying they had seen this ghost wandering near abandoned industrial areas. The story of a person named Frank drew a lot of attention. Frank says he worked there. This place used to be a pork slaughterhouse and he operated the camera room in that warehouse, watching everything that happened. If any employee wasn't doing their job properly, he would definitely see it and check. One day, he noticed that an intern was behaving strangely. The young man was paralyzed. He didn't move for about 10 minutes. Frank thought it was strange and made a call to him over the radio. But the young man didn't respond.
So he went there, right?
And he noticed something bizarre happening. The young man was staring at the pig's head, and he said that was wrong, that those dead animals had a long life ahead of them, that they had wives and children, and that humans would pay for it. They would be the next ones on that table, being killed and packaged for the consumption of other beings. Frank told the young intern to go have lunch and rest for about 30 minutes, because he believed the intern would be too tired. Later, in his office, he saw the same young man walking, holding the pig's head. Frank tried to communicate again with the intern over the radio, but got no response. That's when a bizarre interference started on the cameras. Frank went to the hallway where the young man was and came across something terrifying. The young man was wearing the pig's head as a mask and wielding a knife.
I'm going to finish off all the filthy humans, starting with this one right here.
Frank couldn't believe what he was seeing. He was shocked by the situation. From that day on, strange things started happening in that place. Every day, employees would show up cut in different parts of the factory. They said it was the ghost of the pig doing it, until people, afraid of being the next victim of this bizarre being, abandoned their jobs and the factory closed. Since then, it is believed that Ghost Pig wanders in search of humans, trying to get back at them for everything that was done to his kind. God of Chicken, also known as Chicken Ghost, is a completely white and skinny humanoid chicken. It has chicken feet instead of hands. Its eyes are red with black pupils. Things have been strange since the Clark family moved in. Every carton of eggs they brought turned rotten. One even broke with a fetus inside. Birds started flying through the window and my friend John began waking up with small injuries on his body, like chicken pecks. After that day, I never saw that family again. Humans have been decimating chickens for tens of thousands of years. Billions of these animals have been killed for our food. They used to live a healthy life in nature, with plenty of food to nourish themselves. They ate little worms, corn, those kinds of things. However, with the modern era, they stopped living that natural way and started to be enslaved. They lived in gigantic warehouses, crowded together, forced to take antibiotics and hormones. They underwent mutations over time. They cried for help, but no one came to rescue them. Until after so many years of despair, the Savior appeared. The one who came into the world to judge and annihilate those who killed his people. Currently, God of Chicken wanders around, haunting and feeding on the flesh of his enemies, the humans. So be careful, my friends, because when you hear the chorus of several chickens at the same time, it's a sign that God of Chicken is coming, thirsty for blood. And don't forget to leave your like so you stay protected from any supernatural manifestation. Thanks. Today we're going to learn about the story of Yara, a very interesting legend from Brazilian folklore. Legend has it that she is a beautiful mermaid who lives in the Amazon River. She has tan skin, long black hair and brown eyes. Yara usually bathes in the rivers and sings an irresistible melody. That way, the men who hear her can't resist their desires and jump into the river. She has the power to blind those who admire her and take to the bottom of the river any man she wishes to marry. The indigenous people believe so much in Yara's power that they avoid passing near the rivers at dusk, the time when she appears. To avoid being ensnared, they put leaves or twigs in their ears, hoping to block out the sound.
Wow, what a beautiful voice. Oh, I'm in love. Wait for me.
According to the legend, Yara was a warrior indigenous woman, the best in the tribe, and received many compliments from her father, who was the shaman. Her brothers, jealous of Yara, decided to kill her at night while she slept. Yara, who had very sharp hearing, heard them approaching and killed them. Afraid of her father's reaction, Yara ran far away from her tribe. However, he organized a search and managed to find her hiding in the forest. As punishment for the deaths of her brothers, with an arrow in her heart, she was thrown into the meeting of the Negro and Solimoes rivers. Some fish took the young woman to the bottom and turned her into a beautiful mermaid. Since then, Yara has continued to sing her song and hypnotize men. If you like this video, leave your like. Hello my friends, today we're going to learn about a sinister legend. On October 31st, a man named Jack, a rude alcoholic, had an unexpected visitor. Because of his sins, the devil came to take his soul. Desperate, Jack begs for one more drink and the devil grants his request. But Jack didn't have any money for his last drink. So he asks the devil to turn himself into a coin. The evil one agrees. Jack barely sees the coin on the table and quickly puts it in his wallet, which has a cross-shaped clasp. Desperate, the devil begs to be let out of the wallet, and Jack makes a deal with him. He says he'll set him free in exchange for staying alive for one more year. With no other option, the devil agrees. Happy with the opportunity, Jack decides to change his ways and starts treating his wife and children well. He goes to church every Sunday and keeps doing charity, but the change doesn't last long. On October 31st of the following year, Jack was on his way home when the devil appeared. Jack, clever as always, tried to convince the devil to pick an apple from the tree. He agreed, and when he climbed onto the first branch, Jack took a pocket knife from his pocket and carved a cross into the trunk. Paralyzed on the trunk and unable to get down, the devil promises to live for 10 years. Not accepting his proposal, Jack orders him never to try to take his soul again. So he accepts, and Jack frees him from the tree. To his misfortune, a year later, Jack dies as a result of drinking and goes to heaven. But his entry is denied. With no alternative, Jack goes to hell. The street thing, still suspicious and feeling humiliated, also doesn't allow Jack to enter. But feeling sorry for the lost soul, he throws a coal so Jack can light his way through limbo. He puts the coal inside a turnip so it lasts longer and starts wandering through limbo. The legend of the bathroom blonde is said to have originated from the real story of Maria Augusta de Oliveira Borges. Born at the end of the 19th century in Guaratingueta, São Paulo, the young woman with coppery hair was the daughter of the Viscount of Guaratingueta. She was forced by her father to marry at 14 to Councillor Dutra Rodriguez, a much older and influential man. Unfortunately, after the arranged marriage, she sold her jewelry and fled to Paris in 1884 at the age of 18, where she lived until 1891 when she died at the age of 26. With the disappearance of the death certificate and the cause of death still a mystery to this day, the family brought the body back to Brazil until the tomb could be built. The young woman's corpse was kept in a glass urn in the family's mansion for public viewing. Regretful, the mother, Amelia Augusta Casal,
Did not want
to bury Maria even with the grave ready. But she began to have visions of her daughter asking to be buried, which finally made her decide on the burial. A little more than a decade later, in 1902, the house gave way to a school. Rumors that the spirit wandered through the school already existed, but the story of the blonde in the bathroom gained strength when a mysterious fire damaged part of the building in 1916. Then they started saying that Maria had died of rabies, a common disease in Europe at the time that causes dehydration in its victims, hence the fire. According to the legend, the spirit wanders through the school bathrooms, turning on faucets to quench her thirst and asking to be buried.
Oh my, I want to get out of here.
There are residents who say they've smelled a strong scent of women's perfume moments before encountering the apparition. So that's it, my friends. Leave your like to stay protected against the bathroom blonde, okay? The Mapinguari is a very different animal from those that live in the forest. It is a humanoid creature covered with very thick hair. They are so tough that they make it invulnerable to arrows, bullets, practically any projectile, except for the area corresponding to its mouth. Vertical takes up a large part of its body. According to legend, it is a terrible enemy of man, devouring only the head. Most who claim to have seen a Pinguari describe it as a tall creature that would reach 2 meters in height when it stands on its 2 legs. It also emits a very strong smell, extremely unpleasant for anyone unlucky enough to be within a 3-kilometer radius. Other reports say it wears armor made from a turtle shell.
For others, its skin is like alligator leather.
Some say its feet are similar to those of horses, with hooves as hard as stone. A Pinguaria lets out a cry similar to the one made by hunters. If someone answers, it will quickly go to the unsuspecting person and attack, devouring only the head. Few manage to survive an encounter with this bizarre animal. When it happens, they are usually left crippled or with horrible marks on their bodies. They say a Pinguari only roams the forest during the day because it prefers to sleep and rest at night. But if it's awakened while sleeping, that's it, buddy. It becomes more aggressive and goes running, screaming, breaking branches, knocking down trees, leaving behind a trail of destruction and death. According to the researcher David Oren, a legendary explanation for a Pinguari is that it would be an indigenous person, a shaman who discovered the secret of immortality, but the price he paid for it was to turn into a horrible and stinky animal. According to Domingos Parintintin, chief of an Amazonian tribe, the only way to kill a Pinguari is by hitting the animal on the head. However, he says that the best thing to do is to climb a tree and hide instead of trying to kill it, since the creature has the power to make its victim dizzy and see day turn into night. So that's it. If you liked the video, leave your like. Hello my friends. Today we're going to learn about the creature called Long Horse. It's a creature that has a horse's skull, without a jaw. Its pale neck has a flexible structure with some pieces of a black mane hanging from it. When it bends, cracks appear at the joints, similar to a finger, allowing for several joints at different points of the neck. The legend of this creature was told by Trevor Henderson, who published a photo showing Long Horse with the description that he dreamed about this creature. Another photo released of this creature seems to be in some suburb. An ancient cave painting of the Long Horse was also found, or rather, of the Long Horse around 3 human beings. And in the description, it is revealed that the Long Horse has existed since ancient times. Curiously, the drawings show that he is the protector of humans, purely harmless, and his goal is to warn humans about future dangers. If a human hears a crack in the neck or sees the creature's long neck, the message is that a disaster will occur, not because of Long Horse, but because it is destined to happen. He only came to warn, but a picture of the creature was published simply saying, "A new sighting. He is on the move," which means that Long Horse is probably going somewhere to warn people in that area about some disaster. So that's it my friends, leave your like, and if you hear any neck cracking from Long Horse, it's a sign that something will happen. Hello, my friends. Today we are going to learn the story of Nora the nun. Legend says that Nora was a nun who lived in a castle. She fell in love with a guard until one day she found out she was pregnant. The guard didn't want to know about the child and told her to get rid of the baby. Nora didn't agree and tried to hide her belly until the baby was born. And she managed to do it. She had her child alone in her room without making any noise so that no one would find out. But the baby's crying drew attention and she was discovered by the religious authorities. She was sentenced
to execution for going against the word of God. Where have you ever seen a nun have a child? This is absurd! A blasphemy!
Desperate, she fled the castle with her baby and hid him in the trunk of a tree, with the intention of coming back to get him after she escaped from her pursuers. The guards were on her tail, including the baby's father. Jerk! She finally managed to shake them off and escape. But when she returned to the baby, she couldn't find him. Nora searched the forest day and night without stopping. After many days trying to find them, she couldn't take it anymore and ended up dying. And the legend says that she will never rest until she finds her baby. Since then, she haunts places with woods searching for her lost child. There are reports of people who saw the ghost appear in the middle of the road. Others almost crashed their cars trying to avoid that ghost that appeared in the middle of the road. So that's it, my friends. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Hello, my friends. Today we're going to learn the story of the boy from the basement. That's right. I'll tell you right now that this story is really bizarre. So be careful not to get too scared, okay? Let's go to the video. About 15 years ago, there was a family that apparently was very happy. They were always seen by neighbors and friends smiling and celebrating. A classic harmonious family. But what nobody knew was that not everything they saw was true. Some things didn't match reality. This family had one more member, Jeremias. The eldest son was not treated as he deserved by his parents. He was forced to do all the work in the house and was only allowed to eat once a day, separated from everyone else. So after working exhaustively, he would go to his room, which was in the basement, damp and dusty. Then they would knock on the door, and when he opened it, he would see his food on the floor. He would pick it up and eat. It was always a disgusting, sticky mess with a terrible appearance. Sometimes he was lucky to find good food in the trash, leftovers from his family's lunch or dinner. As for the youngest son, Joãozinho, he was treated in the best way possible, with all sorts of privileges. It was the opposite of how Jeremias was treated. He spent all day watching television in his room, which looked more like a palace. What a good life, huh? But why this difference in treatment for the children? While one eats roast chicken, why does the other eat sticky, smelly food? Did Jeremias do something wrong, something so bad that he deserves to be treated like this? And is that why he's being punished? All that he went through, all that rejection from his family, comes from the fact that he has a birthmark on his back, a very peculiar mark. To his parents, it was frightening, a sign that their son had been chosen by the evil one and destined to be the seed of evil planted on earth, or rather in their family. They tried to act normal with the child, but when the second son was born, Jeremias was pushed aside, receiving less attention and left only with rejection and contempt. But the worst was yet to come, my friends. One day, his parents decided to travel, and of course, they didn't want to take Jeremias. After all, why take this thing with us? We know what your purpose is, boy. So they only took the son, Joãozinho. They said he would stay at home in his room with supplies for the days they would be away. The parents didn't want him wandering freely around the house, so they locked the boy in the basement and left. The plan was to be gone for 7 days, but they ended up staying away longer, 14 days, 2 weeks absent. You probably already understand what happened, don't you? They forgot about Jeremiah's locked in that basement, which they called a room during that whole period, and they didn't realize what had happened. It was only on the second to last day, after they had really enjoyed their trip. Joãozinho remembered his brother. He talked to his parents about it, but nothing was done. The adults decided to keep enjoying their stay. The next day, when they got home, they went to open the door to the basement where Jeremias was. When they unlocked and pulled the door, it was stuck. They couldn't open it at all. They thought it was a divine sign, preventing them from opening it and seeing Jeremias again. The supposed child marked by you-know-who. That would be the perfect excuse for them to get rid of the problem. So they locked the door again and went to sleep. What they didn't expect was that Jeremias would leave that place, not physically but spiritually. You can probably imagine what happened that night. All the resentment he had kept for years was released in a single night, and that house became known as the Red House. Since then, every night at dawn, the boy from the basement wanders through other people's houses looking for families who mistreat their children, decorating the walls in red. About 70 years ago, in some small town in the countryside, lived a family made up of 3 people: the mother, the father, and the couple's son. This boy had terrible behavior and his parents didn't like it. They tried everything to correct him and nothing worked, until one day they had the idea to punish him by locking him in the well behind the house. So, at the first mischief that the rascal did, he was put inside the well. He kept crying, screaming, and kicking because he was terrified. Who wouldn't go crazy in a situation like that, right? After every punishment, his parents thought he had learned his lesson, right? But after a while, the boy would go back to messing up. Until one day, his parents put him back in the well. He made a huge scene, right? As usual. But then, after about 4 hours, they noticed it was silent. There was no more noise coming from the well. The parents thought he had somehow managed to escape the punishment. They went there and opened the well's lid, and they saw that their son was there, lifeless. The rope of the bucket he was holding onto had fallen, so he couldn't keep himself above the water level and drowned. So they called the authorities, reporting that their son was playing around there and ended up falling into the well, and they found the body. After a few hours, the neighbors already knew what had happened to the boy and about the strict punishment his parents always gave him. After some time, they took the parents and put them inside the well and locked them in until they died. Legend has it that even today, anyone who gets close to the well hears some desperate screams coming from there. Some people say it's the father, others say it's the mother. And there are also those who say it's the boy crying, asking to get out of there.
Get me out of here!
If you get close to a well and hear a noise or a whisper, if in doubt, it's better to stay away. What if something pulls you in there and you can never come back? Have you ever heard of the creature Wendigo? It's a mythical creature from Native American Algonquian folklore, believed to roam the forests of the Great Lakes regions and the Atlantic coast of Canada and the United States. The word Wendigo means evil spirit that consumes human beings, according to some interpretations. Although the creature was first described as a demonic entity or an evil spirit without any physical form in native folklore, Wendigo became known as a beast over time. According to Ojibwa folklore, Wendigos are giant creatures with a thin body about 4 meters tall. The reason behind Wendigo being like this is due to its endless hunger for human flesh. They are creatures of insatiable greed, and that's why they never stop hunting for their next victim. Legend says that Wendigos are never satisfied or full, no matter how much human flesh they consume. Besides that, the more they eat, the more they grow. If it eats a 75-kilogram human, that would make its body grow a lot, man. Some versions of the legend suggest that the Wendigo has fur-covered skin, while others say they look like zombies. The creature has a deer skull, according to native folklore.
There are 2 ways to become a Wendigo.
Being in contact with one of these creatures or consuming human flesh. Native Americans believe that eating human flesh, even if it was to survive harsh winter conditions, would turn the person into a Wendigo, and to break this curse, the human who transformed will remain inside this creature, around the heart area. To save the person from this curse, the following must be done. Stab with a knife or a silver bullet in the creature's heart. Causing it to die and the curse to be broken, revealing the human inside. However, this is not an easy task because the Wendigo can regenerate, and it also moves very quickly, right? It's easier for a person to die trying to kill the Wendigo than to break this curse. So that's it, my friends. Leave your like on this video and comment below what you think. Today, we're going to learn the story of Papa Figo. He is known as a ragged, hunchbacked, bearded old man who usually wanders the city streets with a big sack on his back. His intention is to capture disobedient children who play alone in the streets and eat their livers. He has a bizarre appearance, very long fingernails, disproportionate ears and nose, and teeth that even look like a vampire's. All he wants most is to find a child without the protection of an adult. He usually uses some tactics to lure his victims. There are reports of children saying that there was an old man in front of a school talking to a student, and he offered a toy, but the boy didn't accept. Then he offered candy, sweets, and the boy accepted. After that day, he was never seen again. Similar cases keep happening over the years, and what remains are families shattered by Papa Figo. Legend has it that this man does this to children because he has a disease, and Papa Figo needs to eat the liver of a child. That's why he gets this name, which is a contraction of the word Papa Figarus. By feeding on the organ, he believes his illness will be cured.
You must be wondering why he only takes children and not adults or the elderly.
There could be 2 explanations for this. The first is because children are easier for him to capture than an adult. He just throws them into the sack he carries on his back and leaves. Another explanation is because children are pure and their organs are brand new. In some versions of the legend, Papa Figo has some helpers who lure the children and bring the victims to him. After eating the victim's liver, he usually leaves a sum of money next to the body. for the funeral expenses and also to help the family. If you like this video, leave your like and subscribe to this channel. Today we're going to learn about the legend of Pisadera. According to the legend, Pisadera is an old woman with long claws and a frightening appearance, who appears in the middle of the night and steps on people's stomachs. Considered the true personification of a nightmare, this is a legend that originated in Brazil, and many people lock their windows out of fear of becoming her target. Pisadera is described as a very thin old woman with long dry fingers and huge dirty yellowed nails. She has short legs, spiky hair, a big nose, and is hairy. Her eyes are red and wide open, her chin is turned upward, and her mouth is always wide open. She usually lets out a bizarre and horrifying laugh. Legend has it that the Pisadera wanders around on the rooftops of houses at night, watching the movements of people inside their homes. And she attacks whenever she sees an opportunity. Usually the attack happens after dinner, when the victim goes to sleep with a full stomach. That's the perfect time for the creepy old lady to act. Even with short legs, her leap is very long. She enters the person's room and steps on their belly, making them regurgitate their entire dinner. If the person doesn't regurgitate, the Pisadera opens their belly and devours their stomach. The elders say that the Pisadera was an old woman who went hungry her whole life, until one day she died of malnutrition. Not accepting this, her spirit remained trapped on earth and attacking people with full stomachs. There are also those who say she only attacks people who have the sin of gluttony, making them suffer for it. Just to be safe, it's better to always keep doors and windows locked so you don't risk being surprised by the Pisadera, right? If you don't want to be attacked by the Pisadera, leave your Today we're going to learn about the story of Satsi, first reported in the southeastern region in the 19th century. Satsi Perere is a one-legged boy, and depending on the region, he's described as either an evil being or a prankster who plays tricks on everyone. He's always got his pipe in his mouth and a red cap that gives him magical powers. He loves causing mischief and has a lot of fun with it. He enjoys scaring horses, burning other people's food, and waking people up at 6 in the morning with deafening laughter. The legend also says that Sashi appears as a whirlwind of wind and dry leaves, and he can be captured if you throw a sieve, net, or rosary over the whirlwind. If someone grabs his cap, they gain his powers and can make a wish. Anyone who wants to. However, if you're being chased by him, you should throw knotted cords in his path. That's right, Knotsman. Because he will stop to untie them, creating a window of opportunity for escape. According to the old healer known as Papunko Nabuko, the purpose of this creature was the control, wisdom, and handling of everything related to medicinal plants. He plays the role of guardian of the knowledge and techniques for preparing tea, exotic drinks, and other medicines made from these plants. He usually confuses people who don't ask his permission to collect these herbs. After 77 years at the end of his life, he becomes a poisonous mushroom that settles in the bamboo joint. There he would remain in a state of germination. After a few months, he re-emerges with full strength and continues performing his function. If you like this video, leave your like. Hello my friends. Today we're going to talk about a bizarre creature that has been circulating on the internet for many years. It's about Slender Man. Supposedly a thin, faceless man. He's an evil creature coming straight from the depths. He appears to be a middle-aged man with completely white skin and very tall. He would be able to stretch his arms, legs, even his own torso, however he wants, you know? And his goal would always be to cause fear and attract more victims. To observe the people he intends to capture, Slender Man would be able to mold his body to achieve his goals.
For example,
he could pass himself off as a lamppost in the dark or as a tree, with his fingers that can take on tentacle-like shapes. According to the legends, Slenderman's preferred prey are children. Before capturing them and ending their lives, he usually watches them from afar, following his victims at various times. Despite this, some adults also claim to have seen Slenderman in places with a lot of fog and trees, near rivers or forests, and even in bedrooms at night.
Get crazy!
When people forget their windows open, what I told you can happen, my friend. Usually this creature shows up in places with little movement and poor lighting, you know, making its job easier. But that doesn't mean that you, who live in a big city, are safe from an unexpected visit from Slenderman. But what motivates him to make these attacks? Is it just out of malice, or is there something even more bizarre behind it? A case that caught the attention of the authorities happened in North America. A series of attacks on children was recorded over a period of 3 months. The attacks had a bizarre, specific pattern. The child victims had their faces brutally removed. Oh my god. What is that? Several searches were carried out to track down the perpetrator of this brutal act, but without success. They only found traces of blood in the woods near the site. Luckily, one victim survived the attack. Her testimony shocked everyone. The child gave a description of Slenderman. A tall man with a white face, wearing a suit. He used his own hands to do it. Then the theory arose that Slenderman, because he doesn't have a face, he would be looking for one, therefore committing these attacks to make up for his lack. Other theories circulating in forums say that Slenderman, before becoming a creature, was a very strange child. He was supposedly born with a genetic deformity on his face that made his friends tease him all the time. Because of that, one day he tried to remove his face and ended up messing himself up because of it. From then on, his spirit returned in search of a new face. So be careful, my friends. Leave your like here to stay protected against any supernatural manifestation, okay? I'll stop here. Bye. Hello my friends, today we're going to learn the story of Smiley Room. In 2006, when 3 teenage friends found an amusement park called Ned's Fun World in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. 2 of them broke into the place while the third waited outside. The complex had separate areas like a bowling alley, an arcade, and a jungle gym. The third teenager waited for them for hours, with no sign of his friends coming back, until he decided to go into the complex and find them. The teenager managed to search the whole place, but there was no sign of the other 2. He managed to find one of his missing friend's cell phones on the ground. When he looked at the phone, he was shocked to find a photo of a monstrous thing that was manifesting in the back rooms of the complex. It looked like a gigantic vertical mouth with a human appearance, with crooked teeth that appeared in open doors, with a little sign that said SMILEY room above the door. The authorities got involved after seeing the photo, and an investigation was started to find the missing teenagers. The investigation was a failure because when they arrived at the scene, they found nothing. Instead, There was just a plain brick wall with no door or sign.
Smiley Room, or the Room of Smiles, is not just a room.
It is a sentient entity that has the ability to manifest in various locations. It usually prefers to choose places with a lot of movement. It manifests itself in the form of a fake room after a certain amount of time consuming people. Smiley Room moves to a different location, which explains the mystery of the disappearance.
There at the amusement park, snap, it's not known where the victims go.
After being consumed by the Smiley Room, the fact that the recovered phone has a photo of this room from afar, it led to the theory that its mouth has some kind of tongue to pull its victims in even from a distance, although this supposed limb has never been captured in a photo. A more likely theory is that the inside of the Smile Room is like a black hole. It sucks in prey, and if the victim tries to escape, it will only pull them deeper, until they reach the end and are consumed by it.
I want to get out of here.
Hello, my friends. Today we're going to learn about a sinister creature known as Train Eater. This thing is able to modify its body and pretend to be a train, copying all the details of this means of transportation used by thousands of people daily. If you were at a station where Train Eater was, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference at first, because this creature mimics the sounds of gears very well. Doors opening, next station announcements, among other things. It even has lighting inside, just like a normal vehicle. You'll only realize something is wrong when the windows start to close. Then it moves very fast, to the point where some people even lose their balance and fall. You'll see a green liquid running down the walls and slowly starting to fill the inside. Everyone around you will start to melt and be digested by it. The chance of surviving the devouring train is minimal because the acid is very strong. And even if you try to use a knife or something sharp to cut your way through the walls, you'd be going way too fast to try to jump out of there. Maybe the only way to escape this creature would be whenever you get on a train to poke the metal with something metallic. Because if blood came out of the metal shell, you'd already know who it was, right? All the unlucky passengers who get on it are digested, served as food for this creature. It likes to show up in very busy cities, and its favorite times to fill its belly are during rush hours, because it can catch a lot of defenseless passengers without them even suspecting that this will be their last trip. So my friends, be careful when taking a train, okay?
Hello.
My friends, today we are going to learn about a terrifying creature known as the man with the upside down face. He is notable for being one of the most wicked and threatening beings. He is a cruel entity who loves to cause pain in order to feed on people's negative emotions. His ability to sneak around invisibly and feed on negativity makes him more feared and dangerous than most creatures. The man with the upside down face appears to be a man with a very large smile, always with a macabre grin on his face, while his neck is covered by his hair. He also appears to be wearing a grey coat, although the exact color may be different due to the black and white nature of all the photos in which he appears. Dated from 1910 to 1960, photos of him began to appear on the internet when Trevor posted 3 old photographs on his social media. When you look at the photos for the first time, everything seems normal. Until you look in the background and discover that the man is in all the photos watching the tragic events, with a sinister smile on his face. When he carries out his actions, he is invisible to the public. Only photographs reveal that he is really there, causing madness and feeding off it. He is never seen at the accident, only after the fact in the photographs. As Trevor states, his face is wrong because he loves to pervert the expectations of how a human being is put together. He loves the sadness and pain of road accidents, but any horrible feeling will do. He's a terrible parasite, like a leech. He's physically there, but we can't see him. Man is attracted to tragic events, but he usually isn't able to cause them directly. However, he can influence other factors to help the tragedies happen. For example, turning common arguments into violent fights, and making a normally sturdy tire come off a car while it's moving, influencing disasters,